Time to recall the arcade once again. The game of the week is Final Fight. I've noticed something. Whenever the word final is used in the title of a video game or a movie, there's always a sequel. I wonder what the last Final Fantasy game will be called when they finally decide to end that franchise. Another subject, another time. Today's game is Final Fight. I would consider this game to be a more detailed version of Double Dragon, and for the most part it was. This was a game that appeared near another local eatery one town over from me. I specifically remember spending $12 beating it one day with my old pal and next door neighbor from grammar school. Hell, back then I just thought it was a fun beat-em-up style fighting game, but later the internet came out and all this interesting lore came out with it. But taking the role of a pissed-off ex-wrestler and giving a whopping to everyone in a tough street gang was cool enough for this 10-year-old. Well, at the time I was, but here's some random knowledge for you. Did you know that this game was originally conceived as a sequel to the first Street Fighter game? It wasn't going to be called Street Fighter 2, however. The name they picked was Street Fighter 89. In fact, if you're a fan of the Street Fighter Alpha series, you may notice some familiar faces as you play through Final Fight. Capcom had originally just asked for a sequel to Street Fighter, but after this was billed as such, and yet it wasn't like the original, they changed the name right before release. Nifty, huh? The story is simple. The mayor's daughter is kidnapped as a message to stop his campaign against crime, specifically caused by the Mad Gear Gang. Trust me, that sounded tough in the 80s. Well, the mayor happens to be a former professional wrestler named Mike Hagar and decides to take matters into his own hands. His daughter's boyfriend Cody is also available to help, and so is his sparring partner Guy, who is a ninja. That's all you really get on him, but ninja. Enough said. You can assume one of these characters as you make your way through the city locales, each with individual strengths as you fight your way through it. You get to beat up this guy, this guy, this guy, or this guy, or this guy, or this guy, or this... Okay, this is another point of debate on the old coin-op. This character is named Poison, yes, after the band. To the naked eye, it looks like a female to me, but if you go into the lore of the game, you would find out this might be the first transsexual in video game history. As far as I know, since if you research the word transsexual on the internet, it never really gives you the website you want to see. A quote from the producer of the original game, who later worked on Street Fighter IV, said this: "Let's set the record straight. In North America, Poison is officially a post-op transsexual, but in Japan, she simply tucks her business away to look female. And many Japanese hentai comics I've seen would confirm this. Well, this game is fighting and tons of it. The game breaks up the fighting at times as not to be too monotonous. There's a very familiar bonus stage at one point. If you've played Street Fighter 2 or 4, you would recognize it. You beat the hell out of a car, and if you mangle it down to just the frame, you win big points. It's funny that with all the people in this game fighting and willing to fight, there's only one character who has a gun. Coming from Chicago, I figured a gun was part of the gang member's standard issue attire, but I guess in Metro City, the fictional New York-like city this game is played in, it comes down to the spiked hair and raincoats. Having names that were similar to many famous rock musicians of the 80s also seemed to get you into the Mad Gear Gang. As for home versions, there were and still are plenty of them. Just go look this up on PlayStation Network or Xbox Live. It's there, under the title Double Impact. I had the game for Game Boy Advance back in the day, and the SNES version as well, even though they took out Guy for some reason, along with the factory stage, and made Poison look more manly? There were 2 sequels on the SNES, and I never got to play them, but maybe one day I will. But I'm Multi-Monitor Mike and Arcade Fast. Let's make it last.